fights with passion, and he inspires.
Are you ready for a war?
All right, well, welcome back to From 8 Arbitration. Back on Sunday, back on schedule. So it feels good. And then Wednesday, I'll do one Wednesday on the Lions Den. We're going to talk about route protection. So today it's going to be a short episode, but I want to cover this screenshot I took of somebody putting up on social media. A manager put up these bullet points that they're going to start enforcing. And so I'm going to cover this because I wrote on there that I'm going to cover it. I wanted to do it last week, but I couldn't get to it, but I'll do it this week. Wanted to touch on just a few things before I get to that. Wanted to give a shout out to Branch 82 in Portland. James and I went there last week. Absolutely incredible time. We met with a lot of people. We had a retirements luncheon we went to, met some fantastic people there. Had a little BFN function. We went there, answered a lot of questions there, and then had the meeting that night, and it was packed, and it was some fantastic individuals. And everywhere we go, people treat us with nothing but respect. And so I love going around the country, seeing our people, talking to our brothers and sisters. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Branch 82 in Portland and the BFN and those retirees and say thank you for the hospitality. It was a fantastic time. Also, thank you everybody for showing me some love for my birthday. A lot of people reached out on social media and messaged me, so thank you very much. 56 years old. 56. God bless. 56. But here we are. But thank y'all very much for showing me some love. Now, Thursday on the Lions Den, I put up a recording that several people had asked me if I'd listen to it. It was on social media somewhere, and I could not find it. And I talked about that last week on the episode. And what it sounded like was a teleconference with a vital few stations that were not doing real well. And I don't know who it was. Have no idea where it was at, but it had two clowns talking with these supervisors. And I was talking about it then on the episode, but it's one of the biggest things we're dealing with as far as the toxic working environment. And you saw proof positive evidence of why that is. You had some lady who was screaming at supervisors and managers about the carrier's performance and why they're not doing their job. And some other guy is kind of good cop, bad cop. And he was clueless as far, he's never delivered, obviously. She hasn't either. And they've never seen a contract. They've never seen the Joint Contract Administration Manual. They've never seen a Step 4. And it was bizarre that this guy, obviously he's upper management, had never heard of the Step 4 talking about there's no street standard. We have no standard on the street. And it was just, when you're listening to it, it shows you what we're dealing with on the workroom floor. Here's the problem with what we heard. And again, I had no idea where it was at, how it was put out, but a lot of people would ask me if I heard it. And so I finally found it and put it up. But when you're dealing with PET and DOIS, and that's what they were talking about, expectations based off of PET, the supervisor will never be able to attain that. They will never be able to get the numbers that they want because those numbers are unrealistic. Basically, PET is a lie. It cuts out all of our fixed office time. And this lady, the one that was screaming so much, completely unprofessional. I could not sit in that meeting. Complete unprofessional when you listen to her. If I was a supervisor or manager, I would tell her, hey, until you can quit acting like a fool, I'm not going to sit in here. It may cost me my job as a supervisor or manager. I'm not going to have anybody disrespect me like she was doing. Childlike behavior, how she was acting. Completely unprofessional. But she even said in there, she's like, this person, I'm looking at this data. Everybody on there was talking about data, integrity, data, and all this data based off of PET, based off of PET and DOIS. And she's like, with the mail he's got, he shouldn't have 20 minutes of office time. That's PET. And so what they're doing is they're berating these supervisors and managers to go out there and kick the shit out of us for numbers that are unrealistic, that numbers are a lie. And that's what creates this hostile working environment. They're talking about denying all the 3996s. So when you have supervisors and managers in station, we're going at it with them. Most time it's not their fault. They're getting directives from people up above them that have no clue what they're talking about. Just like what y'all heard. No clue what they're talking about. This lady said that the union in this station told her to back off of this injured employee. The employee had restrictions. Carrie had restrictions. Said, you need to back off this employee because of the step 4. We have no standard. There's no street standard. And this guy's like, I need to see that. I need to see that. And who do you work for? Do you work for the union or do you work for the Postal Service? Here's another problem. Here's the union trying to help you. Trying to tell you, hey, look, what you're doing, you can't do that. Because we have step 4s that talk about there's no street standard. They want to talk about demonstrated performance based off a one-day count, based off a one-day ride, like a $39.99. We talked about all the ways to defeat that. But here's the union trying to help, saying, you can't do that. You can't berate this carrier based off of their performance on the street. We have no street standard. And this clown saying, well, who do you work for, the union or the Postal Service? We're trying to help you. That's the problems that we're running into when we're talking about toxic working environments. You have two people in the upper echelon of management have no idea what they're talking about. They're based solely on numbers. I told y'all, numbers are more important than y'all's lives. And that was a perfect example of that recording. Those people couldn't care less about the city letter carriers' lives. This lady, whoever she was, complete buffoon, talking about injured employees, the disdain she had for city letter carriers. When I say we don't hate them enough, that's what I'm talking about. The complete disdain this lady showed for injured employees. These carriers, well, if they're injured, they can't work. They need to, we ain't got nothing for them. And I don't care what they say. Well, the carrier says, I don't care what the carrier says. If they're injured and can't work, they need to go home. We don't have to provide them work. That's ignorance. That's ignorance. Here's a lady who's probably never worked a day in her life. She damn sure hadn't carried mail, ever. She's not sweated at all in her job. And so it was alarming. But those are things that a long time ago, when I was talking about the ergonomics episode years ago, I said, I have seen the depths at which management will go to hurt my people. And that teleconference, or whatever that was, proof positive. I have seen the depths, and now y'all have heard them, that they will go to hurt my people. The setting expectations off of data that they know they can't use. They know they can't use PET. But these people have been brainwashed by AVPs, like this clown that came out with these metrics, hour office time, stationary events. They've been brainwashed into losing all form of common sense. They have none. If you think that PET, that we should be ruled by PET. And that's how they feel. And I'll talk about something here in just a second. But I told you I had a station, they called me the other day, and they were saying that all of their 3996s were denied. Every single one. This MCSO had come in, was walking the floor, and they were turning in 3996s. The supervisor would go to the MCSO, denied. Denied all of them. The carriers brought the mail back. The mail sat there all night until the next day. They denied every 3996, no idea how to get the mail delivered, or no plan to get the mail delivered. That's what we're dealing with right now with the Postal Service, with the incompetence of the Postal Service, the incompetence of these two people on this teleconference or whatever that was. Set expectations off of PET, which they can't do. Deny 3996s based off of PET and DOIS, which they cannot do. Talking about performance, yet didn't do anything to gauge a carrier's performance. They're gauging performance off of PET and DOIS. They are the ones who are creating the hostile working environment for us because they're giving their supervisors and managers unrealistic expectations. When we come in, when we're dealing with PET, and we talk about PET all the time. I talked about PET. I'll talk about it again this upcoming week. But we're already behind the 8 ball when we're dealing with PET. It takes all of our fixed office time away. And they're going to deny 3996s based off of that PET. They're going to come around and tell you in the morning, you got 30 minutes of office time. Well, hell, I got 33 minutes of fixed office time. How's that possible? Just like this lady saying, they've got 20 minutes of office time. How's it possible if I've got 33 minutes of fixed office time? And so that was a good example for everybody when they listen to that, what we're dealing with. As a union, what we're dealing with. When we talk about the toxic working environment being created on the workroom floor, it's because you have people that are ignorant in places of upper management. So I was glad that was out there. I was glad people told me to go listen to it because it's something that we've been saying for so long. That's one of the reasons why I talk about the dogs of war when the CLC takes over. And we start addressing the workroom floor. That's going to be immediate. As soon as we get these teams in and educated, we're going to address the workroom floor. When you talk about correcting the environment, that's the reason why you have to go after MCSOs, postmasters, district managers, AVPs if you have to. That's the reason you have to go after them. The supervisor and manager, they're going to be bullies and tyrants because they've been given unrealistic expectations from their bosses. If you listen to that teleconference, they've been given unrealistic expectations. And so how they're going to do that is come down here and try to punish us with a toxic working environment. So when we go in with these teams, they're going to go after MCSOs, district managers, and they're going to have them come to arbitration and explain themselves. You have to be an inconvenience. We keep talking about that. You have to be an inconvenience to management. It will nip that in the bud, I promise you. If they're being dragged into arbitration, having to explain themselves. They don't want that. But when you hear that teleconference, you understand what I'm talking about. When I say that they're going to reap the whirlwind for the things that they've done to us for so long. They're going to reap the whirlwind when we take over. That's a promise. When I talk about the consequence of their actions, that was the perfect example. When we talk about retribution for the things that they've done and continue to do, that's the perfect example. We will unleash teams on the workroom floor to address what y'all just heard. Incompetence, ignorance, and it leads to incompetence and ignorance on the workroom floor by supervisors and managers. You had them saying correctly, hey, look, I'm basing stuff off of volume. No, you're going to base it off of PET and DOIS. You had some supervisors saying, I don't know what you want me to do. Look, I have no idea what you want me to do. I've done everything I could do. I have no idea what you want me to do. And what did this lady say? I'll come out there myself. I wish she would. I wish she would come out on the workroom floor and bring all that bullshit as far as PET and DOIS on the workroom floor. And she'll get the same business. But I was glad y'all were able to hear that. Like I said, a lot of people had asked me if I heard it. I finally got to hear it. And it's just something that we've been talking about for a while. It's that same bullshit we've been talking about. The toxic working environment based off of idiots and incompetence. But we will address it. I promise you that. We will address it. And we will go on the offensive immediately when we take over. James and I have already talked about it. Those things are already in place. We're just waiting for day one to where we can get people educated. And here's the thing about that, the dogs of war. I announced that, talked about, I'm going to put up an email and you could sign up for Dogs of War, those that would be interested in going into these stations and like I said, reaping the fucking whirlwind on these vital few stations, these managers that have chosen to bully my people. We're going to address them immediately. I put out the email on a Sunday. By Tuesday, had already met the amount of people that I had wanted. I said I wanted a certain amount. By Tuesday, 2 days, we already met that number. That's the excitement of city letter carriers wanting to help their brothers and sisters. In 2 days of me putting out that episode, I already had how many people I wanted. And we've doubled that already. I quit announcing it because we had already met it in the first 2 days. Once we get closer, I may announce it again. I don't know. But that's what's so encouraging about this movement that we've been talking about. People talking about it's a phenomenon. This movement of city letter carriers taking over this union. That was the perfect example to me, other than the TA. 2 days after I announced the Dogs of War, put up the email. We met the quota. So, yeah, the city letter carriers have turned the page. When I talk about standing up, that's the greatest example I can give y'all. Is that you're talking about people that what I'm looking for is those that have no compassion, have no pity, no empathy, no nothing. They're in there for one reason and one reason only: to protect their brothers and sisters. That's the way I want it. I want them to have no sympathy whatsoever for the things that they're about to do. And so, yeah, I think that showed a lot of people what we've been talking about, that teleconference or whatever that was. I think that was a perfect example of what we're dealing with. And so, anyway, I want to talk a little bit about that, just in case y'all didn't listen to it. You need to go back and listen to it, and listen to Complete Ignorance. And the reasoning why we're dealing with the things on the workroom floor we're dealing with right now is because of people like this man and this woman. This the reason why we have such a toxic working environment today is this man and this woman. The things that they're telling their people to do to us. And but we will correct that. We will correct those things when we get in there, I promise you. So here's a screenshot that I'm going to talk about. And I've got a few things for you if you want to write these down. And this was put up on a bulletin board so that it was directives to city letter carriers. And we're seeing more and more of these things come out. Matter of fact, somebody sent me the red line policy was being brought out again. And that's what's so typical of management. They will continuously, egregiously violate the contract. Intentionally violate the contract. Just like the teleconference, whatever that was, talking about PET, set expectations based off of PET and DOIS. They know they can't. They're intentionally doing that. Here's the red line policy coming out again. They're intentionally doing something they know that they cannot do. We're constantly getting bombarded by management that intentionally violates the contract against us. It's intentional. These people, this lady and this man, they know that they're giving their supervisors directives that they cannot do. PET and DOIS. Set expectations off of that. They know that. But they want them to come beat the shit out of us anyway. Red line policies. They know they can't do that. They know it's a violation of the contract. Yet they continue to do it. And if you listen to episode 52 and 67, I deal with red line policy. That's episode 52 and 67. I deal with the red line policy. These whiteboards, putting them up again, talking about our performance. We've dealt with that numerous times. They continuously do things intentionally to violate the contract. Here's another one. This screenshot. And I've got a lot of things I'm going to read to you. That's the reason this is the only thing I'm going to do. This is going to take me just a little bit of time. This is current city carrier management directives. Carriers may request a no lunch from management during their shift. Multiple no lunch days will be considered but are up to management's discretion. No lunch will not be granted if the route will be left unfinished, i.e., no handoffs with a no lunch unless carrier is also using sick leave, annual leave after 6 hours to leave early for the day. Now, I'll stop right here. If you're dealing with a no lunch, and y'all have had a no lunch for a amount of time, whatever, years, I'm always going to file a grievance on management under Article 5, past practice, when we're dealing with them trying to take away anything like a no lunch or try to change the way we've been doing a no lunch. If a no lunch, we've been doing it for this way for so many years, and management attempts to change that, like here, I don't know what y'all, this certain installation, how y'all been doing no lunch, but if that's a change to how y'all been doing it, they need to bargain with us in good faith to change a past practice. You cannot just put it up on a bulletin board that the past practice has changed. You need to bargain with us. Under Article 5, it talks about that. You need to sit down with us, and we'll go back and forth. We need to bargain with each other in good faith over that. And so I would file a grievance if they are trying to change the way y'all have done a no lunch. Under Article 5, past practice. So if any of those things are different, if management's attempting to alter, change, anything dealing with the past practice of no lunch, I would grieve that. Here's another one. Carriers are required to contact management directly if unable to come in on their scheduled shift. This can be done by calling the office after 6 a.m. or text message to from personal phone if earlier. You're not going to tell me to use my personal phone and call a manager off the clock. That's just not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. You cannot give me a directive to use my personal phone while I'm not at work. Period. But I'll read that again. Carriers are required to contact management directly if unable to come in on their scheduled shift. This can be done by calling the office after 6 a.m. or text message to from personal phone if earlier. In addition, carriers are still required to use the ERMS phone line online option to request notify of leave. Now, I'm going to grieve that. I'm grieving that directive because what you're doing is you're attempting to implement a local leave policy that's inconsistent with our handbooks and manuals. Anytime you do something like that, you're attempting to implement a local leave policy that's inconsistent with our handbooks and manuals when you talk about our requirements to call in. And I've got these things. I'm going to send them to Mallory if y'all want to pull them off of this episode. But here's one that says link, Postal Service, news, sick call. Employees reminded of reporting procedures. Now, this is from the U.S. Postal Service. Employees reminded of reporting procedures, and this is from 2018. The Postal Service is reminding employees how to report their absences when they take unscheduled leave. I'm going to read that again. The Postal Service is reminding employees how to report their absences when they take unscheduled leave. You must call the interactive voice response system at 877-477-3273 to report any unscheduled leave as soon as possible. To request unscheduled leave, select option 4 when prompted. Here are some additional tips to remember. Have your employee identification number ready. You can key in your responses. You'll receive confirmation. At no time does it say you're going to call local management on your personal phone. It doesn't say that. This is the employee reminded of reporting procedures. Here's a letter from National Association of Postal Supervisors, NAPS. This is from 2024. Board memo, leave entries entered into ERMS, effective September 18, 2024. NAPS headquarters has been informed of the USPS intent to centralize leave entry within the Employee Resource Management System, ERMS, effective September 18th. All scheduled and unscheduled leave will be entered into ERMS. And it talks about training for lead clerks. Then we have this. USPS News Break, January 31, 2013. Using IVR for unscheduled leave. USPS allows employees to take unscheduled leave to call an interactive voice response IVR system to report their absences. IVR is a fast, secure, and reliable system. It's available by dialing the employee service line at 877-477-3273. So this is 5 years prior. The last one was 2018. This is 2013. Option 4. The system guides you through an easy-to-understand step-by-step process capturing the same information provided when completing a paper leave request. To begin, you need your employee identification number. If you're issued a Family Medical Leave Act case number, you'll need that number too. And here are some questions that the IVR will be requesting unscheduled leave. Here's leave management for labor relations professionals. I'll have that in there as well. Leave management for labor relations professionals. ERM's Technology Principles of Leave Management. This is from 2008. Employee call-in procedure. IVR activated ERMS finance numbers only. For unscheduled absences, employees in ERM's office should call 1-877-477-3273, the same number. I read the thing from NAPS talking about ERMS. Here's what it says. For unscheduled absences, employees in ERM's offices should call 1-877-477-3273. Employee call-in procedure. At no time did it say call the manager. So that's management implementing a local leave policy that's inconsistent with handbooks and manuals, the way that we're supposed to do things. So I'm going to grieve that as well. Okay? Because when you say carriers are required to contact management directly if unable to come in on their non-scheduled shift, this can be done by calling the office. That's a local leave policy that's inconsistent with the handbooks and manuals, okay? So I'm going to grieve that. And I just read you all these things that talks about what we're supposed to do. In no time did it say call your manager. Here's the next one. Carriers are to be gathered by the scanner bays and ready to clock in prior to begin tour. Carriers are to be gathered by the scanner bays and ready to clock in prior to begin tour. I'm going to grieve that because you will not instruct me what to do when I'm off the clock. This is F21 handbook, time and attendance. Section 133.63. 133.63, supervisor responsibilities. Again, this is the F21 handbook, time and attendance. It is the supervisor's responsibility to control employee access to the time cards. Supervisors must not permit employees to clock in earlier than .08 hours, 5 minutes, that talks about the 5-minute leeway rule, before their tour is scheduled to begin, and no later than .08 hours, 5 minutes after the tour is scheduled to end. The supervisors have the additional responsibility to ensure that those employees required to clock in and out for meal periods do so within the allotted time. Supervisors must take all necessary actions to restrict employees' access to the time cards before the scheduled tour begins. That's the only caveat. Supervisors must take all necessary actions to restrict employee access to the time cards before the scheduled tour ends. Here's ours, responsibilities under the M41. Report to work promptly as scheduled. Do not report at cases or racks before tour duty is scheduled to begin or linger about cases or racks after the tour is ended. That's 112.26. Report to work promptly as scheduled, 112.22. That's the only responsibility we have. So when management tries to give us any directive when we're off the clock, like carriers are to be gathered by the scanner bays and ready to clock in prior to begin time, I'm going to grieve that. Article 41.3K. Article 41.3K. Supervisors shall not require nor permit employees to work off the clock. If you're giving me instructions, because if I fail to follow that instruction, that's exactly what you're going to say. You fail to follow instructions. You cannot give me instructions while I'm off the clock. So if you're giving me instructions, tell me to do something while I'm off the clock, I'm going to file a grievance under 41.3K. Supervisors shall not require. When you're giving me a mandate saying carriers are to be gathered by the scanner bays and ready to clock in prior to begin time, you're trying to give me directives what to do before my tour begins. That's you giving me directives to do something off the clock. All right, so I'm going to grieve that as well. Carriers out of approved uniform footwear will be required to change before begin tour is accepted for the day. And I would grieve that. Somebody sent me this, and it's the uniform allowance. It's the prices of uniforms. And it's just a handful. Waterproof parka. If you've gotten this, $597. Heavyweight fleece jacket liner, $310. Performance sleeve jacket liner, $240. So you're spending every bit of your allotment just about on a jacket. And then you're going to have me come in, and if I don't have enough money to get, say, shoes until the next allotment, you're going to say carriers out of approved uniform footwear will be required to change before begin tour if it is accepted for the day. Well, what if I don't have approved footwear? What if I'm a new carrier and I spend all of my money on rain gear? What are we to do? Now, I had an episode early on about them sending us home to change clothes, how we're going to get paid for that. I would grieve that directive as well. Uniforms have gotten out of hand. We've not done anything to help in this last contract. We didn't do anything to help our brothers and sisters on that. So I'm going to address that as well. Here's one that goes along with that episode I was talking about with that teleconference. 3996s will be approved by management discretion and will generally be disallowed if delivery program estimates indicate undertime. I'm going to read that again. 3996s will be approved by management's discretion and will generally be disallowed if delivery program estimates indicate undertime. What are delivery program estimates? Where are they getting those at? These are questions that we need to ask. I would ask that. If I'm a shop store, I'm going to take that up there. I'm going to say, hey, right here, delivery program estimates. What are you talking about? That was on that teleconference when that lady was saying 20 minutes of office time based off the volume. When that guy was saying, hey, set expectations based off of PET. They're going to deny your 3996s if delivery program estimates indicate undertime. You had this auto pivot just come out for the summer. These auto pivots where they're going to generate 3996s and hand them to you. Based off of what? What are they looking at? What are they putting into these programs that generate these 3996s? What is all that based off of? PET and DOIS. All of that's based off of PET and DOIS. So if I'm the shop store, I'm going to take this down. I'm going to say, hey, talk to me about this delivery program estimate. Where is that coming from? It's PET and DOIS. So I'm going to grieve that as well. Carriers will clock to street function as soon as pull down is completed. Breaks are to be taken at designated and approved locations unless cleared by management on a day-to-day basis. Deviation from route, sequence, order, line of travel must be authorized by management. All carriers will verify route parcel completion with PM supervisor. Now be careful with that. If they attempt to tell you to scan parcels as anything other than delivered while you're on the route, they're attempting to get you to falsify parcel scans. I'm not doing it. And I'm going to disobey that direct order. There's a lot of that going on. Parcels you didn't have, them telling you to scan them as no access or whatever. I'm not falsifying any scan whatsoever. And if they give me a direct order, I'm not doing it. I'm not falsifying a scan for anybody. Here's the last one. Carriers returning to the office for the end of day will clock to PM office 7440 for no more than the authorized 7 minutes and then end tour. I'll read that again. Carriers returning to the office for the end of day will clock to PM office 7440 for no more than the authorized 7 minutes and then end tour. In episode 69, I talked about them trying to relegate us to 5 minutes of PM office time. 5 minutes of PM office. That's what that is. I'm going to grieve that as well. There's no such thing as 7 minutes of PM office time. I'm going to grieve that as well. Episode 69. Go to episode 69, the 5 minute PM office time, where they're trying to relegate us to 5 minutes of PM office time. All right. So there's the screenshot. Sorry it took me so long to get to it. but we were out of town, and then when I got back, man, we were jumping on that last episode. All right. So there you have it. Hey, man, that's 40 minutes. That's not too bad, is it? Normally it's 2 hours. I've had them 3 hours. But here's another thing that I wanted to talk about. A lot of these places, I was in Seattle, this was happening. A lot of other places are talking to me about it, where management is just not meeting. They're refusing to meet. They're refusing to acknowledge grievances. They're saying that their bosses are telling them to send them up. I can't deal with that grievance. I'm being told to send these up. I can't resolve anything any longer. A lot of places are going. That's happening, where management is just sending things up, telling the shop steward, "Hey, my boss is telling me not to settle anything. Just send them up." We need to start including M1492. M1492, and what this is USPS NELC Joint Statement of Expectations. And one of the bullet points is we are committed to eliminating abuses of our grievance arbitration procedure, such as the filing of unwarranted grievances to clog the system, or a refusal to resolve grievances, even where there are no legitimate differences of opinion between the parties. I'll read that again. We are committed to eliminating abuses of our grievance arbitration procedure, such as the filing of unwarranted grievances to clog the system, or a refusal to resolve grievances even where there are no legitimate differences of an opinion between the parties. And that's exactly what's happening. When they're refusing to meet with us, refusing to acknowledge grievances, saying that their bosses are having them just send them up, I'm going to start putting in there Article 19 via M1492. USPS NLC Joint Statement of Expectations. All right? So there you have it. There's your episode. There's your screenshot. Sorry that it took me so long. Hopefully we can still jump on that and grieve it. I think we're still within the time limits. I'm going to put that up. But help is on the way. Help is on the way. I promise you that. We're going to attack the workroom floor like never before. We're going to attack the workroom floor. We're going to address it. Y'all saw the need for that, or heard the need for that in that episode. They hate our guts. The disdain they have for us. You heard it in real time. The disdain that lady had for our injured brothers and sisters. You could tell she had a hatred for them because of numbers. Because of their numbers. And the thing is, their numbers are a lie. And they know it. She knows it. She knows what she was telling those supervisors and managers to do was a lie. But she wants them to do it anyway. Why? Because they hate us. They hate us. If one of us died, that woman, you could tell she wouldn't give a shit. You could tell it, listening to her. She couldn't give a damn about a city letter carrier's life. All she cared about was her bosses, making her bosses happy with her. That's all she cared about. You could tell she was a kiss ass, wanting to tell her bosses what she's done. We'll address those. We'll address those when we get in office. We'll take care of that. We'll take care of that. You can't expect anything right now from our leadership. Not a thing. Matter of fact, you got that's the reason why you don't put things on memos. Because that teleconference is proof positive why you don't put things on memos when you talk about bastardizing things. Those are the individuals, when they see 22 minutes of load time, those are the individuals right there where they'll take that and beat the shit out of the letter carrier with it. That's the reason you don't ever do that. You don't ever put things on memos. You don't reduce fixed office time. You don't give them anything. Anything. That's the reason you don't have these meetings where you go in and tell the DRT like Barner did, no more cease and desist. That's the reason why. We're dealing with that type of management. Not the type y'all are dealing with at National. We're dealing with this type of management. Those that will take things and hurt the city letter carrier with them. That's the reason you don't put times on memos. The reason I went so crazy about it. Because I know what they're going to do. I know they're going to hurt my people. You got to think. Anytime you put your name on something, you've got to think. Can this hurt my carriers? Can management take this and bastardize this in any way? If they can, you don't put your name on it. You got to use your head for something other than put a hat on. We got two fucking clowns at the top. When you hear this teleconference, when you hear that, you understand what I've been talking about all this time. You understand the frustration and the anger that you hear from me when you hear this teleconference. That's where it all comes from, because those people that you heard, they intentionally hurt my people. You got to be smart at that level. And I'm not talking about just IQ smart. I'm talking about workroom floor smart. And neither one of those at the top two have any of those things. They have no workroom floor smarts. And that's the reason we keep getting put in the positions that we are. That's the reason our president keeps signing stupid shit. That's the reason when you vote a TA down, when the members finally speak up and vote down a TA, he crams it through anyway. Because he's not been here. That's the reason Barner can go to these places and say, hey, no more cease and desist. He's not been here. They don't understand the ramifications of what they do. But we'll vote both them motherfuckers out this next election. But we'll deal with that, like I said. We'll deal with that. All right. Y'all have a fantastic week. All right. Next Sunday, we'll get into more salted peanuts. Got a lot of stuff for you next Sunday. Be a little bit longer. I had to get this screenshot out of the way because I said I would do it last week. I hate doing that. I hope that I was able to get this in time for you to grieve it. Gave you some stuff there to look at, to grieve, okay? Anytime management put things up like that, we're going to look through each one of those things, and if we can grieve them, grieve it, okay? These whiteboards, grieve them. They're coming out. Red line policy, coming back out, grieve it. We've dealt with those things numerous times on our episodes, all right? Wednesday, we're going to get back into route protection, all right? We're going to do some more PET and DOIS stuff. And so, hell, we're on top of it, man. We're on top of it. We'll stay on top of it. All right. So, I love y'all very much. Again, thank y'all so much for the birthday wishes, okay? Thank y'all so very much. That meant the world to me. 56 years old, man. God bless America. What has happened? But anyway, have a great week. Please be safe out there. It's hot. Please, God, be safe. Take care of yourselves. Nothing's more important than you. Nothing. I love you, Light Blue. I love you with all my heart, man. Good things are coming. All right? Good things are coming. I love you very much. And I'll talk to y'all Wednesday. All right? Bye.